So let's talk about a really big shift in how companies are telling their stories. It's called integrated reporting, and it's all about getting past the numbers on a balance sheet to answer a much, much bigger question. How does a business actually create value in the world?
I mean, think about the last annual report you saw. It was probably packed with financial data, right? Profits, losses, the usual stuff. But did it really tell you how the company is creating value for its people or for the planet? Or what about the huge risks it might be facing that you just can't see on a spreadsheet? Well, that's the exact gap that integrated reporting is trying to fill.
And that's where IR, or integrated reporting, comes into the picture. The whole idea is to create this single, cohesive story that weaves together financial performance with everything else. Environmental impact, social responsibility, governance. When you do that, you end up with a much clearer, more complete picture of how a company is really doing.
Okay, but let's be real. Making this kind of shift isn't as simple as just flipping a switch. For company leaders, it's a genuine dilemma. Because to get to all those amazing rewards, you've got to navigate some pretty significant hurdles first. There are really 5 big ones. First up, materiality. This is all about deciding what information actually matters, because you can't report on everything. Second, you've got data quality. This new, non-financial info has to be just as rock solid as your sales figures. Third is assurance. How do you even get this new kind of report validated by an outsider? Then there's the lack of universal standards, which makes it super tricky to compare one company to another. And finally, maybe the biggest one of all, the tone at the top.
And that brings us to the most critical piece of the puzzle. Honestly, without genuine, enthusiastic support from the CEO and the board, any effort to do this is pretty much dead in the water. This isn't just about cranking out a new report. It's a massive cultural shift that absolutely has to be driven from the very top. No way around it.
So you look at all those challenges and you have to ask yourself, is it really worth it? Well, for a lot of companies, the answer is a huge yes. The business case for it is incredibly strong, and the potential payoff can ripple through almost every single part of the organization.
I mean, the benefits are just all over the place. Internally, you start seeing smarter decisions, and those frustrating department silos begin to crumble. Externally, you build stronger relationships with investors and customers, and you lower your reputational risk. And for the bottom line, over time, it can actually lead to a lower cost of capital. That's a huge win.
Of course, that all sounds fantastic. But anybody who's ever run a department or a company knows there is no such thing as a free lunch. So what does this kind of transformation actually cost? What's the investment really look like?
Right, because making a real business case means you have to be totally honest about the costs. So let's take a look at the tangible investments a company needs to be ready to make.
Well, for starters, you're suddenly collecting and analyzing completely new types of data. That can mean investing in new systems or maybe even hiring new people with the right skills. It definitely means building new internal controls and paying for someone to externally audit the report. And here's the tough one. It means being willing to share information that might be negative or that you'd rather your competitors didn't see.
So this is the fundamental balancing act, right here. On one side, you have a really significant upfront investment, things like building out entirely new internal control systems. But on the other side, the long-term reward is massive, like a lower cost of borrowing money. It's that classic business case, short-term pain for some serious long-term strategic gain.
Now, what's so fascinating about all of this is that when you get right down to it, the biggest value you get from integrated reporting isn't the report. I know that sounds weird, but the real transformation happens somewhere much deeper inside the company.
And this right here is the secret sauce. The process of creating this report forces something called integrated thinking. The whole focus shifts from just hitting some external metrics to really truly understanding how all the different parts of the business connect and work together. It fundamentally changes how your team thinks and makes decisions, day in and day out.
So that leaves us with the final, and I think the most important question. This isn't really about whether you can produce a new document. It's about whether your organization's culture is truly ready to embrace a new way of thinking. Are you ready to connect all the dots and manage your business like the deeply integrated system that it actually is? Now that's the real challenge and the real opportunity.